However, that's not the highest and best use for these materials, and we do encourage the proper recycling of these materials through voluntary collection events and programs.
Noel, when you go driving down the street, you see trash day and somebody's got a computer out there. What do you think?
I think that's a lot of harm to the environment, that you shouldn't have to wait for the legislation to pass, that you should take your own initiative and look for good options with that. And it helps not only save the environment, but it helps a lot of other local economies in ways that most people aren't aware of.
You have a funny nickname for yourself.
Yeah, I like to say I'm the Sanford and Son of the Internet. We basically provide a service that a lot of people aren't willing to do, and we're trying to keep it local and grow the local economy through the reuse of a lot of electronics that would normally end up just contaminating the earth.
Let's talk about that. When we know that people can just throw it out, what's the motivation for them to come to your facility? And if they come there, what do?
Well, they get to pay a few bucks to have their stuff recycled, and to a lot of folks, that's a turn off, but
what's
it shouldn't be.
What's a few bucks? Give us an example.
Well, a monitor does cost money to break down, and if someone is willing to take your monitor and not charge you anything, you should question their motivation and where that monitor is going to end up.
Is it probably going to end up in China at those villages where the people can't drink the water and they have cancer?
Yeah, it might end up right next to Paxton Creek and contaminating that trout fishing or whatever. So really there's...
So what do you charge, for instance, to take apart?
$12 per monitor, and then we charge a poundage fee for all other e-scrap. So it's very inexpensive, but the peace of mind you have knowing that it's not going into the landfill, that it's going to end up helping the local economy, that it's not going to be sent over the road as a hazardous material and increase the carbon footprint. There's really a myriad of reasons to keep it all local, and the cost to you, the consumer, is really negligible. And
what do you do with the material? What do you usually extract from the monitor, for instance?
Well, we use all parts of the buffalo. We try to reuse, we try to refurbish, we try to harvest usable components, we try to break things down to their most basic commodities, plastics, precious metals from CPUs, gold, aluminum, platinum. All those critters are inside your computer in different fashions, and we try to determine the best route back to market. So we're not just looking to get rid of it, we're trying to make sure that it follows the most logical path back to market.
Some of the numbers here are astounding. I read that we throw out, Americans, 130,000 computers a day. Think about that, 130,000 computers a day, and 100 million cell phones. When you think about it, that suggests that there could be a huge market for these items to be recycled. What are you waiting for in government? Is that the problem? If you were to ban just dumping of these things at landfills, there's no built-up market to handle that kind of volume right now?
And that's exactly the issue. We really need to develop the infrastructure over some period of time. There is a permit that a recycler can obtain right now from our agency. We only have about a dozen permitted facilities within the Commonwealth to basically break down these old discarded electronic devices and render them usable in some other way. We need a much larger infrastructure than we have right now to basically manage all the materials that would all of a sudden become available if we banned their disposal at landfills.
Right. As Noel said, he has workers who are doing that. How do you guys monitor that his workers are protected as they're disassembling these things? And I was curious about that too.
The way the monitoring occurs, basically the permit that he's operating under requires performance in certain ways, or conditions in a permit that requires adherence to certain performance standards. And we periodically visit the facility, but for the most part we rely on the operators to adhere to those conditions and operate in an acceptable manner.
And is that something you do? You have to protect their health. Obviously they're dealing with very toxic materials.
Right. Generally speaking, a lot of the breakdown to the basic components happen at other facilities that specialize in the breakdown of those facilities. Most of what happens on location at our facility is what's called material sorting. So we identify the route that this needs to take back to market. It doesn't necessarily get broken down into, there are like several different grades of plastics that all have different values. So plastics recyclers will get our plastics in plastic bales and then take it from there.
Right. There's kind of a double message too. On the one hand, we're Americans. We love all things new and shiny and flashy. So we want to have the latest product. On the other hand, we're in a downturn in the economy. People are saying you should buy because you want to support the economy, but you should also look at what you have. You, in many ways, are the modern mechanic, where you would make the argument, I presume, that these things are salvageable. You just need a little bit of